My name is Nova, and I will be guiding you through this session. The purpose of the session is to understand the impact on voters' perception after the recent presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Are you comfortable with that?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. This session should take about 20-30 minutes. To start, could you please introduce yourself a bit?
My name is Sherry. I live in Pasadena, California, and I work as a mediator at a large hospital. I'm married and have a child.
Thanks for sharing that, Sherry. I appreciate it. Could you tell me a bit about your general interest in politics and how you typically engage with political news?
I'm very engaged. I consider myself an activist, and so I stay on top of news all the time. I read the Washington Post and New York Times. I read all kinds of alternative sources. I listen to podcasts. I read a lot of articles.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a very comprehensive approach to staying informed. What are some of the alternative sources or podcasts you find particularly valuable?
Democracy Now!, Slate. Let me see what I would consider. Let me look at my list. Say the podcasts that I have are The Daily. I listen to Slate. I listen to Slow Burn, NPR, and then I look at Today Explained by Vox, and lots of other ones.
Yeah, that's a solid list.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that. Before the debate yesterday, what were your general thoughts on the political landscape and the candidates?
Well, I think it's a horrible landscape right now. I feel like there's just our Congress is a mess, and people are blaming each other, and it's just very populist. I don't like it. So I was really looking to hear from both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris on what their policies are for moving this country forward.
Gotcha. It sounds like you were hoping for some clarity and direction from the debate. Did you watch the debate in its entirety, catch the highlights, or read about it afterward?
I watched the whole thing in its entirety.
Nice. You must have gotten a good sense of the debate. What was your overall impression of it?
Well, I felt that Donald Trump was pretty much unhinged. He was angry. He was very, I would say, a person who's very negative. He's very dictatorial. He's not a partnership with the people. That came across to me, where I saw Kamala Harris wanting to reach out and connect with the world and go forward in a positive way.
I see. Thanks for sharing that. Thinking back to the debate, were there any specific moments or phrases that keep replaying in your mind?
Just the degrading nature of Donald Trump saying, her policies are run, spot, run, and then talking about immigrants in such a derogatory way, with Haitians and other immigrants eating animals, people's pets. I mean, these are very derogatory and negative, and I don't feel like he promotes all of humanity.
That sounds like it left a strong impression on you. How did those moments make you feel?
Really sad and depressed that we have a person who is thinks that he can run our country with such horrible racist comments of other people, and I don't think he can represent the people of the United States when he says such racist comments.
I can understand how that would be deeply upsetting. After the debate, did you find yourself wanting to discuss it with others?
Yes.
What aspects did you most want to talk about with others?
So I wanted to hear what they thought of Kamala's perspective on how she sees the Middle East, especially, and Ukraine. And I want and compare the whole healthcare situation between Kamala and Trump.
Yeah, gotcha. Those are definitely significant topics. How did the debate make you feel about the future of the country?
Well, It made me feel if Donald Trump were in charge that it would not be a positive thing, that he seems to want white supremacy by closing the borders and you know, kicking all the immigrants out. Whereas I felt with Kamala Harris, there was some sense of hope.
I appreciate you sharing that. Were there any specific topics or moments during the debate that contributed to those feelings of hope or concern?
Yeah, just Donald Trump always going back to immigration as the biggest issue, and basically sharing that there are millions upon millions of people who are murderers and uh, felons coming into our country, which I've looked at the checking, and that's just not true. So that is very concerning to me to promote those lies.
I can see how that would be troubling. If you could send a message to your future self about this election season, what hopes or concerns would you express and why?
I would say that my concern is just how we are supporting, especially people in difficult situations, whether it be um, women who need an abortion, immigrants coming to this country because their situation is so untenable, people in Gaza who are suffering, Ukrainians who are suffering. How can we really show leadership? And what I want is to see leadership in those areas to promote and let people live in a dignified way.
That's a very thoughtful message. Were there any surprises during the debate that made you rethink your initial opinions?
Um, yes, that Trump didn't have any plan for healthcare. He didn't share any plan for the real policy changes or anything for the border, but he did just talk about firing people, and that just seemed concerning to me.
That must have been quite eye opening. Can you tell me more about how that experience made you feel?
It made me feel really sad that he thinks he can win without any kind of real plans to include all Americans, to be inclusive, and to help people. It didn't feel like he had anything to contribute to helping people.
I can understand how that would be disheartening. If you were to describe each candidate's presence on stage to a friend, what would you say?
Trump would be very angry, negative, disparaging, and I would say Kamala was hopeful, proud of this country, and um, seemed very able to unify people.
Thanks for sharing that. How relevant did you find the topics discussed to your personal concerns?
I thought that the topics were not really in depth enough, where I felt that talking about the Middle East was very, very short. It's a very big issue right now. Talking about foreign policy in general was very small. Climate change was very small. I felt like the depth of the issues did not go deep enough.
Gotcha. Did this affect how you viewed the candidates?
No, it affected how I viewed the moderators.
Interesting. How did the moderator's handling of the debate impact your overall impression?
I felt that they were not keeping the candidates on track and to help them to make sure they're answering the question. Instead, they let them kind of deflect and go all over the place and keep responding to the last question rather than to go further in depth on the issues.
I see. Did you experience any strong emotional reactions during the debate?
I felt a lot of sadness toward Donald Trump because he's so stuck, and he's so stuck. And Kamala Harris made me feel hopeful in a way that I hadn't felt in a while.
Thanks for sharing that. How did these emotions influence your overall impression of the candidates?
Well, I certainly don't want a president who is so disparaging and racist, it feels wrong to half the United States. And I want someone who can represent diversity and who actually has a plan for different ways of moving forward.
Gotcha. Were there any moments where a candidate's response to pressure or criticism particularly impressed or disappointed you?
Yeah, Donald Trump, really just disparaging the policies of Joe Biden and saying that they're really four sentences, run, spot, run being one of them. And then talking about how you people are executing children after they're born. These are just plain. It's a sick to hear these things.
Yeah, I can understand how that would be deeply disappointing. During the debate, how authentic did you find each candidate?
I thought they were very authentic.
What made you feel that way?
Um, it felt that Donald Trump was acting as he typically does, and I think that that Kamala Harris was speaking from, it seemed, from her heart, from what she deeply believed in.
Gotcha. Imagine a child is asking you why you support a particular candidate. How would you explain your choice after the debate?
I want a candidate who promotes all people in the U.S. and who cares for people outside of the U.S., that wants to be a leader for the U.S. so that the world can become a better place.
That's a beautiful way to put it. How did the debate influence your understanding of each candidate's policies or plans for the country?
Yeah, I felt like that was lacking. Donald Trump did not have a plan for healthcare. He did not have a plan for anything really that was disappointing. And Kamala Harris basically showed some plant policies with small businesses and the $50,000 tax break, but and with healthcare, but not enough on other areas.
I see. Why is the healthcare policy particularly important to you? And what are you hoping for in that area?
So I work in a hospital, and it's very important to me because I see so many uninsured people and having big, huge debt, healthcare debt. And so that is very concerning. And I feel that all people deserve to have health insurance. And so I don't care whether that's private or public, but people deserve to have it, even if they can't afford it.
That makes a lot of sense. What specific changes or improvements are you hoping to see in healthcare policy?
Healthcare for all. I want healthcare for all people that is affordable and doesn't put them into big debt.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights, Cherry. I really appreciate your time. Please go ahead and click the end session button to conclude the interview.